Did you get into business in order to find freedom, freedom of finances, freedom of time, freedom to be more present to your family, but instead actually felt miserable and challenged? Well, listen, if you can relate to this, I have got four essential questions I think every entrepreneur needs to ask themselves to avoid being miserable in their business. Welcome to the Possibility Mom Live. So, listen, this has been a very long journey, a very long time coming for me as an entrepreneur. I have been in business for um, basically almost 14 years. The first 10 or so years of my business working in interior design and lifestyle television. And then, very much the last 4 or so years, getting into the space of personal development and coaching. And I am so grateful for the years that I have experienced. But I want to just tell you quickly my story with business and how it has evolved and what I now know that I now teach my clients so you can avoid. If you want to avoid feeling miserable, okay, listen up and take some notes because this was so my story. So I became an entrepreneur at the tender age of 23. I was always entrepreneurial minded when I was a kid. I was doing things like making pens with plastic string, understanding that it cost me, 5 cents to make and that I could sell it at 25 cents and make a profit. That was always very intuitive to me as a child. And I was always hustling as a kid to do things. I would like take my violin and play at events, figure out how to accompany. I remember I had a white Sony boombox, like this teeny tiny cassette player that I would record myself playing the violin in the accompaniment part. And then I would tune my violin to the tape and then show up at these like church, like Sunday afternoon tea type events and provide entertainment for the women having tea and get paid like, $10. Anyways, but it was always in my blood, so to speak, to be an entrepreneur. And when I went to college, I studied fashion communications at Ryerson University. So I always say, it's like literally legally blonde. Like I have a history of polka dots. Not really, but anyway, I have a textiles. I took many textile courses as part of my fashion degree. I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but I didn't really know what I wanted, and it was a kind of a weird time. I remember I went on so many job interviews. And to be very honest with you, I was a little bit cocky because I was this like scholarship student, and I really just thought that I was going to get whatever I wanted when I graduated at whatever salary I wanted. And of course, it was a big, crushing blow to my delicate ego, but a very good lesson for me, of course, to learn that no, I couldn't just get any job I wanted at whatever salary I wanted, that it was going to take some time to find. So a really interesting opportunity came about that was so God's will and timing and just honestly, like just an incredible opportunity. I was offered the opportunity to host an HGTV show. And this came not completely randomly, but I had hosted through college 2 one-off episodes for a show called Much 911. Much Music was the national music station for a while in Canada when music videos were so popular, obviously. And they had their own creative content, their own unique programming. And I helped to design and transform rooms in a day for this television show. So this production company was familiar with me. I had been introduced to them via a mom who saw me speak at my high school all the time and encouraged me to get into the world of TV. And so that is how I launched a television career. And then, of course, a bunch of people called me because the show aired not only just in Canada, but in like 34 countries. And so I was starting to get calls from mainly Canada, of course, but like also globally, come and design my home. What do I have to do to get you to design my home, et cetera, et cetera. And so that is where Lisa Canning Interiors born. That was back in 2007. And I built an interior design and lifestyle television career. I worked behind the camera with shows like The Property Brothers, worked on their design team for many years, project managed their book, Dream Home, as well as did many of my own projects, both in front of the camera and behind. And I loved my work as an interior designer. Um, I it was a very hard lesson though, entrepreneurship. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no real acumen for business. I mean, I understood if something is going to cost you X, you have to charge more. But I had a lot of hangups, a lot of challenges, really high empathy. And so I found I was constantly shortchanging myself in every single way possible. Like, I just remember swallowing expenses, feeling bad, never like charging for hours, not charging for hours because I felt bad because something took longer. I would blame things on myself and my inexperience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I had this desire to get into business for like the freedom and for the fun and for the possibility. And instead, what I found was I was getting more and more and more in debt, that I was having to pay for unexpected expenses and just a lot of drama. And what I now know, now a few years into a new business, a few years into a different scale of business, a few years into just a completely different journey, there are four essential questions that I think every entrepreneur needs to ask themselves if they want to avoid being miserable. Because I can straight up say that I was miserable in my business. If you are familiar with my story, you know that I had a minivan meltdown when I had my fourth baby in 5 years and was bringing her to a construction site because I was placing so much of my identity, my self worth in what I did for work. And that was really the day that changed everything for me. Um, I was absolutely miserable. Like, there was absolutely no sense of balance. There was absolutely no sense of even clarity, I guess, about why I was doing what I was doing, except for maybe the money, and I guess to a lesser degree, but pretty close to the money, like fame. Like, there was like a something I was protecting this brand and this identity I had built. And I felt like that there were only a very narrow, specific set of ways that I could continue to protect that identity. And it took many years to unpack that and just, come up with a very different way of living. But that is what I really believe now to be true. I really believe this in my heart of hearts. And remember that I am coming from the perspective of having 8, soon to be 9 children. I'm currently pregnant, very pregnant with my 9th baby. I really believe in my heart of hearts that every entrepreneur can achieve freedom, success, and faith and family balance by asking the following questions. And if you want to chime in with comments, if you're watching me live, chime in my DMs on Instagram at Lisa Canning. Leave me a comment below this video if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And of course, I would love it if this resonates with you. Share it with a friend and let's keep this conversation going. Alrighty, so the very first question that I believe an entrepreneur needs to ask themselves to avoid being miserable is, what is your unique call? Now, this is something that I encounter in a lot of my students that I coach in my personal branding boot camp. And it's this notion that they have to be something other than who they are. So I get feedback from people like, I just like, I don't wear like nice clothes. I'm not really feminine. I don't really know how to put on makeup, so I can't really go on video. Or I get people who say things like, you have a large social media following, Lisa. You seem to really like being on social media. This sucks my energy and my life. I don't want that. Or I get things even as simple as, like you have all of this history and background and I don't. Well, guess what? You are meant to be you and only you. You're not meant to be me. You're not meant to be your girlfriend down the street. You're not meant to be the other, designer or life coach or whatever in your community or that you see online. You're not to be anybody else but you. I hate to break it to you. If you don't believe me, you're arguing with reality. Can you learn from other people? Can you take examples? Can you obviously be inspired by the examples of others? Absolutely. But you have a unique call. And one of the resources that I love recommending inside of a tool that I use for my students in my business is the Metanoia Academy, founded by my dear friends, Matt and Erin Ingold. Erin is my personal mindset coach. And they have developed a worksheet and a workshop called The Unique Call to Sanctity. What you are made up of, the unique mix of your spiritual gifts, the unique mix of your natural gifts, the unique mix of your temperament, your stamina, your ability to talk to people, whether you're extroverted, introverted, whether you're sanguine, melancholic, choleric, all the things. You are meant to be you. And the really cool part of that is that your people that you are meant to serve are looking for you. Otherwise, they would go to somebody else. Sometimes I'm a strategist in the women's school, so there's many of us who sell the opportunity to take the masterclass. To use another example that's pertinent to my life, Beauty Counter. There are thousands, I guess, of women who sell Beauty Counter. There are people who are going to want to buy from you. You simply need to show them why. You simply need to show them what it is, and not in a proving your worth kind of way, but there are going to be people that resonate with your story, that resonate with your insecurities, that resonate with simply you as a person, and will want to journey and learn from you because you are you. I could be sitting here, Erin Ingold could be sitting here, January Donovan could be sitting here, Leah Darrow could be sitting here, and so on and so forth. Name any woman, could be sitting here. Michelle Obama. I'm trying to think of other really famous, Nicole Kidman. Like literally anybody could be sitting here. And you will receive a message from each of us differently because we all have our own unique lens, our own unique background, our own unique history, our own unique way, because God has given us all different gifts and different personalities. God loves diversity. It's just the truth. And if you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, but it's a reality. Just look around the world. It is clearly a very diverse place. And so my best advice for this is to turn off the inner judger. Whatever voice inside of you is saying, oh, you can't do that because you're like not pretty enough. Or, oh, like who would want to listen to you on camera? Or, oh, like people are going to find that really boring. Just turn that off. Look deep inside yourself. If you have access to the Metanoia Academy, do the unique call to sanctity worksheet. If you don't have access to it, we'll put a link where you can get access to it, and dig deep and discover what is it that is unique about you. And then open your mouth and go and talk about that. Be who you are, because as the wonderful, wonderful Saint Catherine of Sienna says, when you are who you are meant to be, you will set the world ablaze. So, what is your unique call? Who are you meant to be? The second question I think an entrepreneur needs to ask themselves, and I recommend you ask yourself these questions early, PS. Don't wait like me. Ask yourselves these questions early. If I had asked myself, what, like, who are you uniquely? I would have stopped comparing myself to others. I would have stopped comparing even the way I was doing things, the exact processes, the exact steps. And I would have been like, I'm going to find a unique way. And that brings me to my second question of what does success look like to you? Because, when I was doing interior design, and I use this example often because it just was a real big reality. What I was when I was looking around and sort of seeing how were my colleagues doing things, what were people doing, what were people sharing on social media? Social media wasn't as much a thing when I was younger, like earlier in my career, it just wasn't as Instagram wasn't around um, in the early days of my interior design business. But what I was observing is that everyone around me was working, really long hours, like from the early morning into the night. And that was what I thought success looked like. I thought success looked like sacrificing for your family temporarily so that they could get you later on. So doing a lot of work, maybe, I don't know, like either when they were young so that they could get you later, or like doing a lot of work during the week so you could be freed up on the weekends, that kind of thing. Like I kind of just saw a lot of people hustling. It never appealed to me. Like I just remember being like, this is just it. Like if you want X, you must act like X. And it took a meltdown in my minivan for me to say, there has got to be another way. That my health doesn't have to be constantly sacrificed, that my marriage doesn't have to go, down the drain, that my kids can actually see me. And when I'm actually with them, I'm actually present. There's got to be a way that that's possible. And I think it really comes down to defining what success looks like for you. So, one of the very first questions or the very first standards I had to set was success for me looks like picking up my kids 3 days a week from school. And I will not schedule anything else so that I can be there personally. Success for you might look like I only work 1 hour a day. Success for you might look like I only work these many hours. I'm always done by, 4 o'clock when my kids come home. And that's a non negotiable. Success for you could be I do not work on evenings, or I only work one evening a week. You get to define this success. Nobody else can define it for you. And you simply have to have the courage to say, this is what is acceptable. This is who I am. This is who I am not. And be so comfortable and confident with that. And this gets tied very much to legacy. And this is what I talk about quite a bit in my current group coaching program that I've been loosely calling Motherhood Without Guilt. I should probably just formally call it that. But this new group coaching experience that I have been undertaking with specifically for Catholic women. You can tie this so much to your legacy. You can tie this so much to what you feel that God is calling you into in this season of your life. This does take some discernment to be able to articulate what is success to me. And again, only you can define that. Okay. The third question I think that an entrepreneur needs to ask themselves to avoid being miserable is why and how do you buffer? So let's define the terms in case you are not familiar with this term. Buffering is the avoidance of pain. And last week on the show, I talked quite a bit about this, about numbing pain with cell phone usage, avoiding disappointment with cell phone usage. And so I want to encourage you, we'll put that link to that episode in the show notes. But we need to discover what you are avoiding and in anything in your business. And so just, feel free if you're listening to this, like just take a moment and pause and say, okay, I always grab for my phone and scroll on social media when I don't want to face financial details. Or I always go into the pantry and get a snack, even if I'm not hungry, whenever I have to do anything tech related. Or it takes me a great deal of courage or a deal of conversion or like coercing of myself to call a client back or have a difficult conversation. And I find everything to clean before that. These are all examples of buffering. So to identify how and why we buffer can give us a lot of clarity into what is it that we are afraid of and what we are avoiding. So in those cases, I would say for me personally, the areas where I buffer the most. And for me, it's my phone. I will pick up my phone and I will obviously scroll on social media. I will get into like a little bit of like YouTube videos. I try to tell myself, oh, no, 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 you're doing research. No, I'm absolutely avoiding things. And for me, it's often difficult things. So like anytime there is something I know I'm going to have to figure out, and maybe I haven't figured out before, or maybe it just seems difficult or it's going to be boring, whatever it is, that is when I will buffer. I will historically buffer when it comes to finances. So either dealing with it, looking at it, keeping track of it, I will absolutely just put up a lot of fight. And leave it to the absolute last minute if I'm being very, very honest. And it's a really good question to ask in this little category of how and why do you buffer is what is it that you are protecting? So for me personally, going back to like I'm trying to remember it was a spreadsheet. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know. It was my new group coaching experience. I had never done this group coaching experience. And so I wanted to create an onboarding document that was clear and not overwhelming. In the past, I had gotten feedback from my people that it was really overwhelming to begin programs with me because you get access to like 700 things. In an effort to, provide a lot of value, I have a lot of different resources that I make available to people. And of course, I had never really thought, oh, wow, that must be really overwhelming. You're getting like all these logins, you're getting all of these instructions, you're getting all of these automated emails. And so I was very cognizant. I want to make this as simple and as streamlined of an onboarding experience as I possibly can. The thought of that was very overwhelming to me. And so I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And of course, people started asking like, hey, like, are we going to get some kind of onboarding document? You said we were going to get something. Just wanted to check in and see. And so I knew I couldn't put this off forever. And I used a strategy that my mindset coach has given me, which is I can do anything for 5 minutes. But what I was protecting was the pain of doing something new, the pain of figuring something out that has a lot of moving parts. But here's the thing. An expression we use a lot in the women's school, January Donovan shares often, is action breeds clarity. I knew I had to get this thing done. I knew that the only way to do it was to just start taking steps and building out this beautiful spreadsheet. And to be honest, just do it. And realizing, oh, wait, maybe they need more guidance here, or they're going to need a schedule here. How can we make the schedule as, not overwhelming to look at as possible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was immensely helpful. Just the reminding myself, just take some action and you can do anything for 5 minutes. And so to be aware of what you're protecting yourself from and realize that actually you're just prolonging pain. I have a dear friend and colleague, Dr. Christine Lee, and we have an episode with Dr. Christine Lee that I will put for you in the show notes. And her specialty is procrastination. She really helps people heal from procrastination and avoid it in the future. And that's a phrase that she often uses. that's really stuck with me is that procrastination is just prolonging the pain of that thing that you are procrastinating. And actually, just like sitting down, getting it done will actually resolve the pain in a much faster way than if you just continue to procrastinate. And why this is so important for entrepreneurs, to me at least, is that when you buffer, this gets in the way of your interior peace. This gets in the way of your relationships with your kids. If you have a very limited time to work because you are a busy mom, if you're trying to do work while your children are napping, for example, or on very specific limited pockets of time, if you buffer, you just simply aren't going to make the progress that you want on the goals that are important to you. And this is a very important part to me because it is a skill, and it is a skill that is so essential for mom entrepreneurs so that we don't develop resentment. I think what can happen, what I see oftentimes, is that resentment will happen either towards the business. So you're just like, well, forget it. I don't want to do this. This isn't what God wants for my life. He doesn't want me to be miserable. And you kind of blame and you start catastrophizing and you have resentment towards the business. I had this. I thought my business was going to provide me freedom. How come I'm just miserable and in more debt? Like it's just, when we do not have a grasp on the skill of avoiding pain, avoiding the things that we are uncomfortable with, it can provide a lot of resentment. Or then we have resentment to our families because we are, again, time is limited. Kids are asking for us. Husbands are asking for us. Husbands can resent business. Oh, let me tell you, I've seen that. I mean, in my own marriage, my goodness, there's been so much history of resentment towards my work. A lot of that can be completely avoided when we have the discipline to do the things that we have set out to do in the time, which is often limited for moms, that we have given it. I feel very passionate about this, that a woman can run a business in limited pockets of time. Will you get there faster? Potentially, if you have more time. Potentially. But I'll be honest with you, more time doesn't always mean more progress. More time might just be more time to buffer. Whereas if you really have limited time, you know that baby's going to wake up. So you know you only have an hour and a half. I have witnessed some of the moms that I coach do incredible things in that little time period because they have mastered the skill of being disciplined and not buffering. This is a huge question and one that I will die on the hill of. This is an essential question. Okay, so that is question number 3. Why and how do you buffer? And then question number 4. What is your mindset around money? And maybe more importantly, where do you have money blocks? Now, this is one that I'm on a journey on myself. I have had huge money drama stories, and I have, like I shared with you, put myself into a tremendous amount of debt. And literally just like not knowing how I got there, like asking the question, like, I don't know why we don't have money for taxes. I don't know why there isn't anything left in the bank account, even though I knew what all these expenses were going to be. I have in the past really struggled with very basic accounting and planning types of things when it comes to my business. I've also really struggled with, as I've shared, putting my worth in what I do for work and feeling like I have to prove something to everyone. And all of this impacts how I spend my money. And what I have learned is that making more of it does not solve your problems. Now, you might think that that is a completely antithetical idea. Like, of course, making more money would solve my problems. I mean, it might in the sense that, you have more money obviously to pay yourself, you have more money to pay off debt, certainly. But what happens when you start to make money, more money, but you haven't dealt with the issues you've always had, is that the stress actually just gets multiplied. The same stress you had when you had less money actually just gets more multiplied when you reach these higher levels. And the same need or the same drama or the same insecurities you have are still going to be there, just at a grander scale. And here's the other thing that I see also is that this money drama can also sometimes impede people's ability to open their mouths and sell. If you feel like, oh, I'm not worthy of charging this, or, oh, this has always been just a ministry for me, or, oh, I just want to help people. And so, it really like should. Sorry, guys. Don't know what happened there. Hey, am I here? Can y'all hear me? I hope you can all hear me. It looks like my other camera just okay. Anyway, so if you don't heal those things from the beginning, if you don't heal those things, let me just make sure. All right. They're just going to get exponentially more challenging. And so instead, why don't we just ask these questions, get some coaching, resolve with good coaching can resolve a lot of things, you guys. But at the most basic level, it really comes down to, in my opinion, worth. I am worth the money I'm charging for this experience. Now, you might be thinking, how on earth do we do that when I've never done this before? How on earth do we do that when I have never charged somebody? Well, there's a couple ways. Number one, you can obviously get experience, and you can do that for free, especially to the women that I coach who are coaches themselves. I'm always like, you need to get as much experience as possible coaching one-on-one or in small groups. But I actually prefer one-on-one because you get incredible stories, you get incredible data, you get incredible, testimonials from the people that you have helped. It's just really good practice. But this goes to anything. This goes to interior design. This goes to anything that you are teaching. We need to have success stories. Success stories are an incredible marketing tool to be able to say, hey, yeah, this actually works, right? Like Lisa helped me. And so to do that, you might need to gain some experience. But even without experience, I argue that you can find this confidence from within. You can find this confidence from your life experience. You can find this confidence from obviously your training. You can find this confidence from really looking deep within and going back to that first question of, what am I uniquely called to do? What is my unique call? And this can take time, but ultimately no one else can find this for you. Sure, does it feel great when a client says to me, Lisa, like, you are so helpful. That was so, like, you're a great coach. You've helped me so much. It's a joy to work with you. Absolutely. But I have to be able to actually say for myself, I'm a good coach. Like, that has to come from a place that is internal. Even when you have feedback from clients, you really need to be able to say that in yourself. Because if you don't believe that, other people pick up on that. And it 100% impacts your ability to sell. And so the fourth question is, what is your mindset around money? All right, so let's do this one more time. Question number one, what is your unique call? Who are you meant to be and just be it? Number two, what does success look like for you? And remembering that it's going to look so different than everyone else. Number 3, why and how do you buffer? And really dialing in. There's so much I could say on this particular topic, that honestly, just I could talk for hours on the topic of understanding your strengths, understanding who you are, understanding where you're going to typically um, uh, tend to seek more comfort because of your strengths. But this one is such an important one. And then number 4, what is your mindset around money, or what are your money blocks? These are the things that I am going to be basing the success path or the action plan, whatever you want to call it, of a brand new group coaching experience I'm going to be hosting specifically for moms called Wealth Without Guilt. How to grow a business without sacrificing faith, family, or what matters most. And as always, anyone who is not a mom but wants this type of experience or coaching is very welcome. And I'll be sharing some details around this very soon. This is also going to be very much embedded in an upcoming business summit I am hosting at the end of the month, September 24th to the 26th. Save the date in your calendars. The Possibility Mom Business Summit is coming your way. It's going to be a combination of pre-recorded videos and live coaching with me, all on how to start or grow a business with this same ethos in mind, where you do not have to be miserable, where it doesn't have to come at the expense of your faith, your family, or what matters most to you. So come back soon. We'll be releasing how you can sign up. P.S. It is completely free for that weekend. And I will be sharing the details on how you can grab your free ticket very, very soon. My friends, if this was helpful to you, I would love to hear it. Leave me a comment on wherever you are watching this. If you would leave a review and subscribe wherever you love to watch your content, whether that be YouTube or iTunes or Stitcher or anywhere. Thank you so much for this great comment coming in here from Facebook. You are very welcome. It has been an incredible journey to be an entrepreneur. And I really do believe that it can be your path to sanctity if that is what God wants for your life. There are specific people, like if you listen to my episode with Dr. Janice Bradenbach, and we'll put that episode in the links. There are specific women who are divinely called to use their skills in a way that serves others in an external capacity other than their tasks of being a wife and a mom and a homemaker. And if this is you, let's give you the skills. Let's give you the motivation. Let's give you the steps and the accountability to do that well. Because all of those things, all the things I tackled today, the essential questions, if you don't ask yourself those, there can be like real big trouble. So I just really want to encourage you, learn from my past mistakes, learn from my experience, and live truly the beautiful life that God wants for you and your unique family. Okay, friends, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.